Welcome, everybody, YouTubers. I'm going to wipe my camera again. Well, see, I use my phone, so I've always got to wipe the phone camera after I put it up because you're touching your phone all day. So sorry about that. Welcome, guys. We're going to talk about TikTok. We're going to start talking about TikTok. We got Ukraine news too, but we're going to definitely start talking about TikTok because crazy day on that front. TikTok's in real trouble. YouTube or TikTok, speaking of the devil. There we go. Oy. Snowy Kentucky. Hello, Gunther. All right. TikTok rolling. Shift the mirror. There we go. Boom, boom. All right. Woo. Crazy day here. Oop, there we go. Hello, TikTokers. How's everybody doing? Make sure, is my sound working okay on TikTok? Amanda, let me know. It often doesn't work when I first come on. John S., my sound working on TikTok? Let me know, guys. Sound is good. Oh, there's a surprise. Thank you, Steve. Hey, Steve. Thank you for the gift. Actually, somebody was before Steve, wasn't it? John S. Thank you, John S. Anyway, welcome, everybody. Hey, YouTubers, TikTokers. So, yeah, TikTok kind of in trouble. They're getting banned. Things may change in the next week or so, but Supreme Court case was horrific today. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Relax, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys, especially if TikTok gets banned. I really need your help because I make most of my money off of TikTok. YouTube, I get some, but I'd say 80% of my income comes from TikTok easily. So this is very bad. Thank you, Relax. Thank you, Sandria, Elizabeth. I guess I'd start the show by saying you better subscribe on YouTube because this is bad. So, all right. We are going to talk about some Ukraine news, but I wanted to start with the TikTok stuff because it is important. Thank you, Martin. Today, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments, as they're called, in the TikTok decision, the TikTok case, and it was horrible for TikTok. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Richard. We held a live, sat and listened to it. I am a lawyer. I went to Georgetown. I have a law degree from Georgetown. I don't practice, but, you know, I do know things. And the Supreme Court justices hated TikTok today, absolutely hated them. They sided with the U.S. government. That does not mean that that's the way they'll vote. Thank you, Larissa. But it often does. Okay? So you never want to, thank you, Jocelyn, for the gift. You never want to say definitively what the Supreme Court's going to decide. But I got news for you. What happens to my subscriptions? I don't know. That's a good question right there. Well, let me walk you through what actually is going to happen if TikTok gets banned. It's complicated, okay? And it won't be an immediate ban. It's going to be complicated. Thank you, Jocelyn. So Supreme Court today made very clear they're going to screw TikTok. Absolutely. But there are many levels to how this could play out, okay? First of all, when will the Supreme Court reach their decision? We don't know. Sip of water. The Supreme Court could issue their decision in a few days. They could issue their decision in a few months. Thank you, Blue Ariel. We don't know. Typically, they don't decide things that quickly. But TikTok, the ban goes into effect January 19th. That's just 9 days from today. So you'd think, right, that they're going to kick in, but they may not. So that's the first problem. We don't know when the Supreme Court is reaching its decision. If the Supreme Court knows that they are not going to reach a decision by January 19th, typically, you would expect them to stay the legislation, to basically put a hold on the legislation pending the Supreme Court's decision. In other words, they would say, look, this legislation, we're going to freeze it right now. We're not going to let it be implemented on January 19th. TikTok will not be banned in America on January 19th until we, the Supreme Court, issue our decision on what we think should happen. So that's the first thing. If it looks like the Supreme Court is not going to reach a decision before January 19th, it is likely they will put a stay on the legislation saying, let's hold off on the ban until we issue our decision. If it looks like the Supreme Court might issue their decision before the 19th, they may just, they're not going to need a stay. They're going to say, no, we're going to issue our decision. What do I think is going to happen? I have a feeling TikTok is going to be banned on January 19th, but for only 24 hours. Here's what happens. January 20th at noon, Donald Trump gets sworn into office. When that happens, Trump has the power under the TikTok ban legislation to postpone the ban for 90 days. Now, thank you, Dog. Now, thank you, Kai, as well, for the gifts. Trump has to certify to Congress that he's delaying the ban for 90 days because there's been progress on TikTok being sold or addressing the concerns of the US government. Thank you, Adventures. But Trump can just lie. I mean, it's very simple. Trump will lie and say, yes, I certify there's progress. And TikTok gets 90-day reprieve. So January 19th, that day, it is quite possible the ban goes into place. But I think if it does go into place the next day, Trump will freeze it. Thank you, Adventures. We got a little fire over on the TikTok side we had to share. So I think the ban will only be for one day. Trump will freeze it for 90 days. Thank you, Courtney. And then we see. Let's say that's what happens. We got 90 days. What happens in those 90 days? After 90 days, the legislation kicks back in and TikTok gets banned again, right? So I think Trump will try to get Congress to repeal the ban, but that's not going to be easy, or maybe it won't. Trump previously tried to ban TikTok 3 times when he was president. Trump then sat down with a Republican donor, a billionaire donor, who is an investor in ByteDance, which is the TikTok parent company. And after that private meeting, miraculously, Trump came out and now is a big supporter of TikTok, whatever, right? So Trump supports TikTok now. Trump will try to pressure the Republican Party to rescind its ban, to repeal the legislation. Republicans control the Senate and the House of Representatives in the U.S., but their control is not very big, especially in the House. It's like 1 or 2 people at this point, right? Thank you, KT. So Trump will try to convince them to repeal the law. It's not clear where the Democrats are on. Oh, hey, Rat Person, good to see you. It's not clear where the Democrats are going to be on this. What is interesting from the Republican perspective, and Trump trying to convince Republicans to repeal the TikTok ban, is that Republicans really don't like China because China's government is communist party, right? Communist, not just communist, but a communist dictatorship. Thank you, Oren. Thank you, Bill, for the gifts. Thank you, Ava. Appreciate the very nice gift there. Thank you. The Republicans hate China. I mean, to put it lightly, they do. Trump will have a particularly hard time convincing Republicans to turn around and repeal this legislation. Now, I should say, the laundry is done exactly, Earl. Thank you, Steve. Republicans and Democrats were both pretty united in passing this. I seem to recall, am I crazy, or wasn't there were only like 5 votes against this or something? It was crazily popular. Nonetheless, I think it's going to be difficult for Trump to convince them to repeal the law because Republicans really don't like China. Having said that, Trump was able to get the Republicans to change their mind on the Russians. You know, Russia has been at war with us really for a while now, as Ann Applebaum says, who's a famous journalist. She says Russia's at war with us. We just don't realize it. Trump has been able to convince Republicans that, Putin is the best thing ever, right? Can he do the same thing with the Communist Party of China? If the Republican Party is a cult, maybe Trump can pull it off, right? Who knows? Thank you, Laddie. But any case, I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to get to the 19th. It is possible on the 19th. I think, okay, next couple of days, Supreme Court issues its decision. They shock all of us by issuing a quick decision. Thank you, Lamb Chop. The 19th, TikTok is banned. The 20th, Trump comes and stays the ban, temporarily postpones it for 90 days, and tries to work with Congress to get the law repealed. Will Congress repeal the ban? Who knows? Now, as far as what the ban actually is, because the ban is complicated too. What it does is it pretty much penalizes the app stores, Google and Apple app stores, the application stores for your phone and your iPads, and makes them remove TikTok from the app store. That does not remove TikTok from your phone or your iPad. So I can still stream from my phone, I can still stream from my iPad, but eventually the app will degrade. Eventually, it won't work with Apple's new operating system, right? So even if my app is running right now, eventually it won't run anymore. Second problem, you buy a new phone, you buy a new iPad, you can't install the app. You won't be able to install the TikTok app. Thank you, Alan. So eventually it catches. I mean, I'm looking at getting a new phone because I'm changing phone services because the amount of money I pay Verizon for my cell phone. If I get a new phone with that, will I be able to install TikTok on my new phone, right? It's crazy. So you get that. That's the problem, is that over time it degrades the service. Now, could you use a VPN? Hard to explain what a VPN is if you don't know what it is. But if you do know what it is, maybe the VPN might work. But the problem becomes not just for me as a creator, it comes for you as a viewer. People who are used to watching TikTok on iPads and or pads or notepads or whatever you call it, and phones, not all of them will understand how to use a VPN. And VPNs can often cost money as well, right? $50 a year, whatever. Not everybody wants to do that. So this is going to be a bit of a mess. This is going to be a bit of a mess. So yeah, but this was bad today. This was very bad today. Now, TikTok did have a little bit of a meltdown a minute ago, I noticed. By the way, some people are saying TikTok wasn't working for them. I noticed that when I signed on to my TikTok page right before the show started, I got an error. It wouldn't load. I think TikTok may be getting like a ton of traffic or God knows what, but something's going on. Well, you can still access TikTok on the web. That is true, Jason. I will have a problem there because I've still got to broadcast. So I'm going to still have to broadcast my show, via the apps and things like that. TikTok has a web app or I should say an app for broadcasting that only works on Windows machines, which is really freaking annoying, I have to say. It's a little scary. It's a little scary as we get here. I'm going to you're going to be muted for a day. Goodbye. So yeah, it's kind of scary. TikTok, Sean is saying his TikTok said they'll shut down. There was some reference today, and I can't find it. I cannot find anything backing it up. But there was a reference today of TikTok supposedly saying it'll just shut down its U.S. operations if the ban goes through. I cannot find that confirmed. I have found that nowhere online have I been able to confirm that. So I don't know that that's the case. I think if I were TikTok, I would play it smart and say, look, we know if Trump comes into power. The only thing, Kai, is I want to know exactly what they said. That doesn't mean we need to know exactly what TikTok said. Google CBS if you want and see if you can find the article, but I couldn't find it. So yeah, it's a mess. Just to remind people, anybody who's new here, because this kind of works like radio. People come at different times to the show. We're talking about the TikTok ban. The Supreme Court has not reached a decision. The Supreme Court did, however, hold an almost 3-hour oral argument this morning in which, and we watched it live with you guys. I am a lawyer. The Supreme Court really doesn't like TikTok. The judges were very negative, very nasty, very aggressive. With the Supreme Court, you want to be careful because we try to guess what will be happening, what the court will decide based on their actions. But based on their actions, all the experts are saying the Supreme Court is coming out against TikTok, that they're going to support the law. TikTok, will be banned, so to speak. But as I said, I think what will probably happen is that Trump will come in on January 20th, the day after the ban goes into place, and he's going to put a stay on it. He is allowed under the legislation to postpone the ban for 90 days. And I think he will. And he will then try to see if he can work out a deal. Now, maybe he'll try to get TikTok to do something that he can use to sell to Republicans. And he can say, okay, look what TikTok has done. Now you're willing to repeal the ban. Scott, he actually can. Trump is just going to lie and say that progress is under the legislation. Trump can postpone the ban for 90 days. He can't. He has to certify blah, 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 blah. He's just going to lie. He's just going to lie and say, I certify blah, blah, blah. Now there's an interesting question. Okay. Now that's an interesting question from Scott. Actually, that's an interesting point, Scott. I don't know. Scott is saying he can't after the fact. Scott is saying if the ban goes into place, can Trump then do the 90-day deferral? You know what? Honestly, we'd have to pull up the legislation and look at the actual written law. I don't know. That's a good question. Okay, no, that's actually smart. At first, I was wondering what you were talking about, Scott. I thought you were talking about Scott. He'd lie to meet the standard, and he will lie to meet the standard, right? That's an interesting question. I would still be surprised. Honestly, we have to see the way the legislation is written. The legislation still may say, because, for example, here's a possibility too. If I were writing the legislation, I would want to put pressure on TikTok to sell. If TikTok is banned from the App Store, that doesn't put pressure on TikTok to sell. That now means TikTok is gone forever, right? A permanent ban. Well, that's not the case. right? If anything, the legislation should make clear that if TikTok is sold, the legislation no longer applies to TikTok. So there's got to be ways of, I don't know. We have to see what the legislation says. We got to see what the legislation says. Yeah, I don't know. Again, not until we see Biden can postpone it, yes, but I don't think Biden will. I don't think Biden will. But that's a really good question. We've got to see what the legislation literally, but I mean, not even what a reporter says. We need to see the law itself. I don't know. I do not know, Rob. Rob was asking an interesting question about the 5-year statute of limitations. Well, I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah. There was a weird question that came up about the 5-year statute of limitations. My thought was maybe that meant how long of a period before the companies won't be held liable for the fines, maybe? But I don't quite understand what that, I don't know. I didn't understand what that was about or why it was relevant. I don't know. This is very confusing. Pressure would be on store owners to remove the app. Absolutely. They can't sell because of the algorithm. TikTok has long said it will not sell because of the algorithm. That basically if they sold, now the algorithm is the computer program that tells TikTok what videos you like and what you don't like and what they should show you and all of that, which is the secret sauce of TikTok. And they don't want to sell that for obvious reasons, because then whoever buys TikTok would literally have the TikTok computer program and they could just copy. They would literally copy TikTok. So TikTok doesn't want to do that. Anyway, it is crazy. TikTok is working because I'm on it and I'm talking to everybody right now. So TikTok's clearly working, but it was having it was being a little glitchy when I tried to get on earlier. Apple and Google will not pay all those fines. Apple and Google will not want to accrue those fines is part of the problem. Apple and Google, this is part of the problem too. People said, well, Trump could say, well, I'm not going to enforce the fines against Apple and Google. Oh, really? Right? We saw an estimate in one of the newspaper stories a couple of weeks ago with you guys. We were both kind of we were all looking online, and one of the newspaper stories said the fines that Apple and Google could be liable for if they do not remove the TikTok store, right, or the TikTok app from their stores, they could be liable for hundreds of billions of dollars of fines. It said it was like a crazy amount. There is no way, if I'm Apple and Google and Donald Trump says, okay, I know legally you're going to be liable for hundreds of billions of dollars of fines, right? I'm not going to enforce it. Don't worry. Well, okay, let's say Trump doesn't enforce it. What stops, I don't know, President Vance? If Trump becomes old and ill and has to step down, could JD Vance enforce it in 2 years? Yeah. Trump can't run again. He's already been president twice. What if the next guy or gal who wins the presidency in 4 years, Democrat or Republican, says, now I'm going to enforce it, right? Do you think TikTok and Google and Apple are going to want to accrue hundreds of billions of dollars of fines by letting TikTok continue on their app under the good faith promise that maybe a future president won't enforce it? Even more so, if I'm Google or Apple and you're Donald Trump and you tell me, don't worry about it, it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars of fines, but I won't enforce it. Do you really believe that Donald Trump won't enforce it? Do you really believe that Donald Trump won't get angry someday at Apple or at Google? Right? Remember the way Trump gets pissed at Google for the way their search results comes up, and he doesn't turn and say, Google, if you don't make me number one on Google, I'm going to enforce the $300 billion fine against you. If you're Google, do you want that hanging over your head? There is a 0% chance that Google and Apple are going to risk Donald Trump's promise saying that I will not enforce it. They won't. Can he pardon the companies? That's funny. I have no idea. If a pardons, I don't even know if you can pardon a company, first of all. That's very funny. I mean, a company is a legal person, but I've never heard of companies being pardoned. I can't imagine you can. Anyway, oh my God, that's a good point. Do a segment on how to use a VPN. That's not a bad idea, actually. It's not a bad idea. Elon Musk buying TikTok because we want the world just to end completely. I mean, my God. I really don't want Elon buying TikTok. So we're going to bring neo-Enzis to TikTok. I mean, TikTok has its problems for moderation, but Elon Musk literally wants, I'm on Twitter. I can't even describe the people Elon Musk brought to Twitter because I'd probably get banned by TikTok for even talking about them. But basically, the folks that fought on German's side in World War II are the people Elon literally brought back to Twitter and defends. I mean, it's horrific there. I don't want him doing that to TikTok. I really don't. Well, I'm hoping I won't be gone. I am over on YouTube, John Aravosis DC. I did just restart my Substack again, Google Aravosis Substack. I just did an update about TikTok, actually, right before the show today. But this is crazy. And exactly, TikTok won't get security updates. It's kind of a mess. Now, I will say, thank you, Scott. I will say, TikTok, I don't know. I don't know what to say about TikTok. TikTok doesn't do itself any favors. I've often said, like, TikTok should hire me as a consultant. TikTok does not do itself any favors. They censor a lot. They're very heavy-handed with their censorship. At the same time, they don't moderate actual bad people. We've had death threats before that TikTok has responded and said it's not a violation. My mods can tell you, have said it's not a violation. And it's like, really? Like, really? Right? But at the same time, TikTok will ban me for, I can't even say because remember they banned me for, I was translating an article from Le Monde about Macron, the president of France, France's like most august newspaper. And I was translating an article about the French president about Ukraine, and they banned me for a week. And we were like, it's Le Monde. So, TikTok has very erratic moderation policies. I've said this before. I censor myself when I'm on TikTok all the time. And I think I don't want to say any host that says they don't is lying because maybe some people don't, but every minute of every day that I am on TikTok, I am thinking in the back of my head, can I even talk about this topic? How can I talk about it? What can I say? Can I say the truth? Can I tell the truth about Republicans, or will TikTok ban me again? Can I tell the truth about COVID, or will TikTok ban me? I don't have that on any other social media platform. I've been on the internet for 30 years, since 1995. I'm literally one of the first American political operatives on the internet. Literally, I was one of the top guys in the mid 1990s. And I have never self-censored until now, being on TikTok. That's not good. No, they've got a problem. They've got a problem. What I mean is, by the way, I can't get guests to come on. I have a very hard time getting guests to come on TikTok with me. I had a podcast before this. I was able to get U.S. senators, U.S. congressmen, lots of people from television, lots of really important news anchors. Jake Tapper on CNN came on my podcast. Lots of people. I have had an impossible time getting people to come from Washington as a guest on my TikTok. They don't want to do it. This is a couple of years now. They've just been like, they're like, TikTok, no. Because TikTok has that bad of a problem. Not even the patrol problem. It is a public perception problem of TikTok is the problem. That they perceive TikTok as being something bad. That has existed for a couple of years now, and TikTok has got to address it. Anyway, I'm telling you, like, hire me, TikTok. Happy to help. I'm a fan, but I'm also a critic because I've gone through hell with TikTok. But I'm also a fan. I love this service to some degree. It's amazing. YouTube's great, but TikTok, you do reach a bigger audience. You really do. Which can be nice, especially, I'm talking politics. I want to get my news, my stories out there. I'm going to adjust my camera here a little bit so I can slouch back for my back a little bit. There we go. Anyway, oh my God. We can talk about the Ukraine stuff for a second, but since we're talking TikTok, we can talk some more. Anyway, what do you guys think about all of this? What social media platform has the most to gain from a TikTok ban? Oh, thank you, Adventures. I'm doing the dragon again. Hard to say. Hard to say. Could be Facebook. Could be Instagram. Could be Snapchat. Like for people my age, it's not going to be Snapchat. Instagram, sure, although Instagram isn't monetized. So part of the question becomes monetization, right? YouTube is monetized, but YouTube, I told you, I make 80% of my money on TikTok. I don't make it on YouTube. I put a post on TikTok. I can make, this is rare, but I just had it happen. I can make $500 on a TikTok video because the video goes viral. I've got some videos recently. They got 1 million or 2 million views. It made me $500. That was great. That's not every day, right? On YouTube, that never happens. It's happened once on YouTube. I did a video about Melania Trump and whether she really speaks multiple foreign languages because she claimed she spoke French and Italian, which I speak. So I took clips of her speaking French and Italian and I assessed it as an Italian and French speaker, and she didn't do well. That video, I've made maybe like $1,000 on TikTok over the last, on YouTube over the last several years. That's it. Never. TikTok, I've got multiple videos like that I've made money. It's not every day, but it adds up over time. So yeah, it's, I'm not sure. I think YouTube is the obvious place. Instagram's the obvious place. I don't even understand, like, I don't even remember now. Is Meta the other one that Facebook created? I get very confused as to what these services even are. I don't even remember if Meta is Meta another one? I don't even remember now. I can be your sugar daddy, not with one TikTok video. Threads, like I've been on these guys. I don't even know if you can do video. And again, if they're not monetizing it, right? I mean, for people like me that do this as a job, I have to go somewhere I can make money. It's not like I'm retired or rich. I can't go somewhere like, well, I'll just go on Meta and do free videos all day long. Right? I can't afford to do that. Or whatever the threads or whatever it is, right? I don't know. It's very scary. Again, I think TikTok, well, it was a natural problem that was coming because of TikTok being a Chinese company, the parent company being Chinese. Thank you, Autumn. Clapper, I've heard of Clapper. I haven't used it though. Part of it too is like, how many different programs do you want to be on? Facebook, Threads, Instagram, WhatsApp. Okay. That's what I thought. Meta is the company. Meta's not the app. Yeah. So Threads is Meta's thing. Okay. You like to think I'm Paris Hilton. I'm Paris Hilton type rich in my heart. Sadly, not in real life, or I would be doing this for free. Anyway, oh my God. It's bad, guys. It was a very bad day in the Supreme Court for these guys. I am on multiple social media to make money. You pretty much have to be. Yes. Twitch. I never was able to get Twitch to make any money. $50 a month on Twitch. YouTube, like I said, 20% of my money comes from YouTube. Probably 80% comes from TikTok. I'm on Blue Sky, but there's no money involved, right? You don't make money on Blue Sky. But again, that's part of the problem here. Thank you, Adventures. Dragon. You've got to think that basically your favorite creators who are online regularly have got to be making money because they can't afford, right? Nobody can afford to do shows all day long or whatever it is every day of the week. They've got a real job. So that's sort of the conundrum too, is sure, I could go other. I'm on Substack already, Kai. So I am on Substack. I started my Substack. I sort of had put my Substack on hold. I'm doing my Substack again. So once a week, at least, I will write an article. I'm going to start writing some things for the paid subscribers too. But that will help, But I hate having so many. Patreon banned me, basically. Yeah, no, Patreon early on didn't want people who were pro-Ukraine. So Patreon told me early on to get off. Patreon was like the best place to be. I was bringing in like $2,000 a month on Patreon almost, and they killed me. The little effers. because Patreon's anti-Ukraine. They had like, who knows why? I don't know if they had some Russians on their board or some bullshit, but Patreon freaked out against all of us Ukrainian pro-Ukraine creators. The only company, by the way, nobody else did. Patreon freaked out against us, and I had to pull. So I've got a couple people left making $200 or $300 a month on Patreon. That's it now, and Patreon's the easiest place to do it. No, Patreon, because they're anti. Honestly, I think somebody who's pro-Russian has a connection to Patreon. That's my guess, because it was totally arbitrary. I've been on Patreon for years. I loved Patreon, and they're a horrible company. I think they're so far left that they're anti-American. They're probably pro-Russian, is my guess. Somebody pro-Russia got to them, or they're so far left that they just, they become right-wing, that they hate Ukraine, they like Russia. I mean, no, I don't know. There is something very wrong with Patreon. Like I said, they destroyed their reputation. I mean, I used Patreon for years, 5 years maybe, and Patreon, horrible people, horrible company. So I don't trust Patreon. The other thing too, I wouldn't trust Patreon now. They kicked me off. I mean, they didn't kick me off. They said we're going to get rid of your account if you don't leave or whatever. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Oh no, Patreon. Ask Julia about it. Patreon went after all the Ukraine creators at the beginning. Oh yeah. Would the ban hurt the economy? Nah, I'm not convinced about that. Thank you, Mike. It'll hurt me. It'll hurt my economy, but I don't know about that. Very upsetting. Anyway, thank you, Andy. All right. So should I move on with the OnlyFans? Exactly, Andy. I'll dye my hair and look a little younger and set up an OnlyFans. There you go. Oh, man. There you go. Thanks, Rat Person. Appreciate it. All right, guys. So yeah, let's continue with the news here. We can move over to Ukraine, and then we'll do our usual hangout afterwards and talk and all of that. So let's get rolling. And I've got to ice a cake tonight for a very late Orthodox Christmas party tomorrow that a friend is having, but she was sick last week, so I'm going to making a Belarus, a Polish. I told you this, a Polish piernik cake, which is a gingerbread cake that I'm hoping works. We're going to find out. I'm a little concerned, but we will find out. Trump administration. So this was interesting. Trump for Ukraine has picked this General Kellogg guy to be his Ukraine envoy. And Kellogg said today that he was postponing a planned trip to Ukraine for legal reasons because he doesn't want to run afoul of the Logan Act. Now, the Logan Act basically says it is illegal for American private citizens to get themselves involved in foreign policy, that they can't go and negotiate. Thank you, adventurers. More fire. More fire. That they aren't allowed to go and negotiate on behalf of with foreign governments. Trump has already done this, so I found it interesting that basically they scared General Kellogg into not meeting with the Russians or the Ukrainians until Trump is president. Again, I'm a little surprised because Trump. Remember, I said yesterday, Trump himself said that he was upset that he can't meet with Putin until he's president because, legal things or whatever. Now, we were sort of wondering whether it's because the Russians don't want to meet with him, which is possible. Maybe I think what's going on is that Putin is going to put some kind of crazy demands on Trump and say, I'm not going to meet with you unless you lift the ban, unless you lift the sanction or lift half the sanctions or whatever. And knowing Trump, he'll probably do it. So that's a possibility too. I know, and Elon's been doing it, but so that's why it's a little weird that the general is worried, but who knows? But then again, maybe the general knows that, the U.S. government will never have the nerve to go after Elon, but they might have the nerve to go after General Kellogg, a retired general, right? A little different. Andrew Tate is going to try to run for British prime minister. Well, that should be funny. That should be funny. Anyway, no, Clinton was president at that point. No, Clinton was in 1994 is when Ukraine gave up its nukes. Clinton was president. So I don't think it was former president. And you can be invited by a current president to go and do it. That's okay. You can't just freelance as an individual and go meet with foreign governments and basically execute U.S. foreign policy. All right. Sky News. So this was interesting, actually. There was a story today from, is it Meduza? Yeah, Meduza, which is a Russian opposition media outlet, basically saying they've talked to a number of Russian sources, some in government, some representing rich Russians, who are very upset with Putin and how the war is going, which was interesting, which was very interesting, actually. I'm going to read you Sky News's write-up of it because I thought, like I said, I thought it was interesting. Russian elite. This is Sky News summarizing the report. Sky News summarizing the write-up of Meduza's article, and the write-up was by the Institute for the Study of War. But overall, it's Meduza's article. Russian elites and high-ranking security officials are frustrated with Vladimir Putin's efforts to wage a full-scale war in Ukraine with half measures and are increasingly concerned with the president's timeline to end the war. Sources in the Russian presidential administration, the State Duma, which is the legislature, and wider Russian federal government and regional governments told Russian opposition media outlet Meduza that Russian elites were increasingly disappointed and tired of waiting for the war to end and are growing increasingly concerned about the long-term impact of Western sanctions on Russia's economy. A source in the Russian presidential administration also told the outlet that Russian elites, mainly high-ranking security officials, are increasingly frustrated with not having enough manpower and materiel to conduct the war, and they believe that Putin needs to conduct a mobilization and completely transition the Russian society and the Russian economy to a wartime footing. Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War suggest the report indicates that the high-ranking Russian security officials appear to be assessing that Russia needs to intensify its war in Ukraine rather than seek an exit via negotiations. That's interesting, saying that sort of the Russian security apparatus wants the war ramped up. They don't want a peace agreement. They continue. Meduza's report suggests that Russian security and military officials may recognize that the Russian military is not accomplishing significant territorial gains proportionate to the manpower and material losses they are incurring in Ukraine. So the conclusion there is that the Institute for Study of War says this looks like the Russian security apparatus feels that the Russians are losing a lot of men and a lot of equipment and not getting a lot in return, which is very interesting. Again, let's see what happens, but I thought that was very interesting. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is planning to visit Ukraine to discuss peacekeeping. This would mark his first visit as Prime Minister. German Chancellor Scholz has blocked a proposal for an additional military aid package for Ukraine worth 3 billion euros or $3 billion, according to Spiegel. What's interesting about this story is it's not really clear what's going on. The new assistance plan was proposed by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and German Defense Minister Pistorius. Scholz is blocking it, saying the current allocation of $4 billion or euros is enough. This to me feels like German politics, and I don't know any of you Germans out there. This feels like, I don't know if somebody's jockeying to be the next, chancellor. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like they're playing politics against each other. That's what I think is going on. Yeah, Mike, the problem we have with that is that it's a sexual sign and not cool. That's the problem we have with that. So I hope you're not. Yeah, that's why we don't do that. Yes. Especially because on this TikTok feed, you never know with TikTok, especially how they're going to respond to that. So we try not to sort of have anything too sexual, period. Yeah, don't do that because it is kind of weird, especially with women. We try not to use that stuff. It's a little weird. All right. 3 more quick stories. European Union provides Ukraine with $3 billion, the first tranche of loans from the European Union backed by Russian frozen assets. Tranche is another great word, Gunther. You can explain to people what that one is. The European Union is Norway is allocating over $2 billion in military aid for Ukraine in 2025. And finally, Oh, this is interesting too. So finally, citing Russia's war in Ukraine, Norway plans to resume construction of civilian bomb shelters. No bomb shelters have been built in Norway since 1998. I thought that was interesting. Interesting. They're building bomb shelters again. Honestly, what do you do? But that's kind of scary. But what do you do? All right. That is it for the news. We will hang out and talk now. I will yawn at you. Tomorrow morning, remember, I'm not leaving yet, but this is where part of the show we hang out and talk. Tomorrow morning, remember, we've got our coffee talk. Oh, thank you, adventurers. More Dragon Flames. Basically, everybody who's a monthly subscriber on TikTok, who's got SNN next to their name, or on YouTube, who's got their name in green, I do a Saturday morning show, 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. That's New York City time, Washington, D.C. time, just for you guys exclusively. So we hang out. Nobody else can join us, just you and me. On TikTok, people can come for a preview, but that's it. But it's a chance to sort of thank the paid monthly subscribers. So thank you all. Thank you, Chazak, for the gift. Anyway. All right, guys. So speak to me. What shall we talk about? Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Trump's a convicted felon. Trump got convicted of his felony today, or got the punishment. I don't quite understand it, but legally, thank you, adventures. Thank you, Chazak, Juju, for the gifts. Legally, the experts were saying we weren't allowed to really say Trump was a convicted felon until today in court. Now he is a convicted felon. The judge decided to let him off. He's not going to get any punishment, but it still is a big deal that he's a convicted felon. That's a big deal. Yeah, but that's a big deal. Trump is pissed because it makes Trump look bad. Trump's big thing is his ego. Trump wants to be accepted by the big boys and the big girls. And now he's a felon. He's a convict, basically. He's an ex-con, in essence. That doesn't look good. He's the first U.S. president to be a convicted felon. It doesn't look good. So I agree. I think he should have gotten more punishment. He should have gotten a fine at least, but it still makes him look very bad, which is very good, I think. So there. Do I know what's happening in Syria? I haven't seen much going on in Syria in the last few days. Why? Something in particular? I do follow the news, but there hasn't been a lot of talk about Syria in the last few days. 10 years at Alcatraz. Thank you, Denise, for the meerkat. Appreciate that. What else, guys? Yep, so that happened this morning. That happened right pretty much as the Supreme Court was beginning its arguments. Yeah, Pez, I heard that our pediatric nurse, that felons cannot enter Canada. So Trump does get into a weird situation on what happens now in terms of countries he's not allowed to enter as a convicted felon. Do I think that America, Mexico, Greenland, and Canada will become one country? No. Well, first of all, for MAGA Republicans to be talking about taking Mexico, really? You want 30 million more Mexicans in our country? MAGA Republicans want that? I'm fine with it. MAGA Republicans don't want that. Canadians, it's obnoxious. They're being obnoxious, right? They're rudely talking about taking Canada. First of all, you want to take how many Canadians are there? Alexa, what's the population of Canada? It's not that big.
In 2024, it's not that big, right? The population of Canada was 39.1 million.
39 million, yeah, that's what I thought. 40 million. That's still not. That's 15% of the U.S. population. You want to take all these Canadians and have them be Americans when they're used to getting free healthcare? Okay, that's 40 million votes for free healthcare. I'm good with that, right? I think Republicans would be very surprised. I don't know, but my impression of Canadians is, you've got Canadian right wingers, but Canadians tend to be a little more liberal than us. They're not as warmongering as Americans. They're certainly not as pro-gun. So they'd be great on guns in terms of gun control. They'd be used to getting free healthcare, which they would not be thrilled about our system. So I think Republicans would be very surprised if Canada, which is never going to join the U.S., but if Canada joined the U.S., actually, Arctic Legacy says even our Tories are more liberal. That's interesting. So in other words, even the conservative government's more liberal than Americans. That's the thing. I think it'd be very interesting. In other words, it's Republicans doing what they do and Trump doing what he does. And they all go, yay, yay. All those Trump supporters talking about taking Canada would not be happy if Canadians became Americans because they'd all be voting for me. Thank you, adventures. It'd be very funny. Very funny. That's interesting. We have mandatory maternity leave for mothers and fathers 1 to 2 years. Excellent. Excellent. Rat person, I see your comments, but I can't comment on everything. Who else we got here? I did see that. Yeah. Anyway, what else, guys? What else? Yeah, the Western Canada Separatist Party. Yeah. And Republicans want a bunch of French speakers too. Can you imagine? That's the other thing they don't like. They don't like the Mexicans, but they really don't like the French either. They're going to take, how many Quebecois are there? 10 million or something? 5 million? I don't know. How many are there? Alexa, what's the population of Quebec?
In 2020, the population of Quebec was 8.48 million people.
8 million, even more. 8 million. So we're going to take 8 million French speakers? Oh, the Republicans are going to love that because Republicans don't like the French either. I love the French. Republicans don't. So it's very funny. It's very funny to hear sort of all the goofy stuff the Republicans say about Canada and Mexico and everything else. 8 million is pretty big. I did not realize. And 8 million of the 40 million, that's not nothing. 20%, I guess. So, Anyway, that's very funny. Article said their television did a great breakdown. Canadians would overpower the Congress and have the biggest say if they became the 51st state. Well, they would try to like limit it by giving you like one vote in the Senate or something crazy. Like you'd be like the state of Canada or something crazy like that. You know, that would be the way they would do it though. Yeah. Well, there's a question too. Canada and Mexico. Actually, that's a funny question. Actually, that's a very funny question. Actually, Bobby, that's a really interesting question. Bobby says, I thought Canada and Mexico were taking our jobs. That's a really interesting point. If we make Canada and Mexico, if we like take over Canada, for example, then all the Canadians are Americans. Then we have to give them our jobs, right? I mean, right? Like, which one is it? Are they taking our jobs or do we want to make them Americans so they literally take our jobs? Like, which one is it? Right? It's crazy. Crimea stuck by Ukrainians. That's good. Can we give Texas back? Don't know. Yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening. I think Trump may try something crazy with Greenland. Certainly Panama. Trump really might try something. Trump might try something with Panama. That I could see. Greenland, who knows, right? Canada, never. He's not doing anything with Canada. He's trying to get trade concessions, or maybe he wants you to build him a hotel or something. You know, but what else? Oh, yeah, big job numbers today, which is kind of funny. The U.S. economy is doing so well that the stock market did badly today because the economy is doing too well. The U.S. economy is doing so well. We had so many new job numbers that they're afraid that the Federal Reserve may not lower interest rates again for a while because the economy is doing too well, which is funny because, again, all those goofballs voted against Biden because of the economy, except that the economy is doing ridiculously well, which we all told you it was doing, and people didn't believe me. Thank you, Randy. So, oh well. Now Trump, by the way, the second Trump takes over in 2 weeks, there will be a job report like this next month, and Trump is going to go, look, everything changed. Look how positive the job reports are now. They were never this positive before. And it's literally, they've been positive like this for 3.5 years under Biden. But Trump is going to say, it's a first. And he's going to take credit for everything. And the public's going to go, yay, because it's what they do. Oh, boy. Oh. 2 weeks, even less than 2 weeks. It's 10 days away. 10 days away. Oh, well. Very bad. Very, very bad. So. Oh, merci pour la baguette. Eva, la baguette? La baguette. Thank you, Ava. Well, if Trump starts the deportations, that's also going to cause problems to the economy. Thank you, Super Hornet. I'm not terribly sympathetic on the immigration issue, as we've talked about before, but I am sympathetic on it's going to cause a real problem in the economy if Trump does these deportations he's talking about doing, because a lot of these people who are here illegally work and do jobs Americans won't do, and they do them a lot cheaper. Thank you, Adventures. Randy Fred, thank you for the chili. Agriculture, yep. How soon do I think Trump makes a visit to Russia? Pretty soon, because he wants to, again, we know Trump. He wants something from Putin. Nobody knows what, but, maybe they meet in a third country, although Putin's a convicted war criminal now. So now they can't meet in Finland. Where are they going to meet? Thank you, Jeremy. Maybe Trump may have to go there because Putin may say, I can't go anywhere, We'll see. I don't know. It's the 20th, not the 21st. It's only the 21st if it's a Sunday. Pretty sure it's not a Sunday this year, right? Pretty sure. Yeah, of course, because today's the 10th. Well, Friday, no, I think Monday's the 20th, isn't it? Alexa, what day of the week is January 20th?
January 20th, 2025 is on a Monday.
It's Monday, yeah. So the inaugural is going to be Monday. Yeah. It's on a Monday, I believe, unless it's on a weekend or a Sunday, then they don't do it. Oh, it's MLK Day, but they're not going to skip it for that, right? The inauguration is the 20th, pretty sure. It has to be. Actually, first of all, I'm sorry. Let me correct this. The inauguration is always on the 20th, period. I actually Googled this the other day. The inauguration by the Constitution is on the 20th at noon. But if it's a Sunday, they put it off a day and they basically hold a swearing in on the 20th at noon, and then they do a public one on the 21st publicly at noon. So if there's a conflict for any reason, they still have to do the swearing in. Noon on the 20th is when he becomes president. So it's on Doomsday, exactly. Can Trump be prevented from getting a security clearance? No, because he's president. It's crazy. It's crazy. Members of Congress, the same thing. Members of Congress get an automatic security clearance by being members of Congress. It's ridiculous. And presidents too. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, well, that's funny, Medic. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that Russia's upset with Trump for trying to get Greenland because it would give the U.S. a greater Arctic presence. That's interesting. That is interesting, actually. That's very funny. Haha. I made some chocolate chip cookie dough last night. I'm very excited. It's been sitting in my fridge since last night. We're gonna make some cookies tonight after I finish making my Polish gingerbread cake. What clearance is limited? Whose is, Kevin? Biden's going to give a farewell speech to the nation. Oh, that's interesting. I know I didn't share. I haven't made it. I mean, I made it, but it's in the fridge. By the way, New York Times even did an analysis on this. Chocolate chip cookie dough is better after it has sat in the fridge for like 2 to 3 days. It starts to pick up like a caramel undertone or whatever to the cookies. And the New York Times even tested it and said it's actually true. You basically give it like at least 36 hours. So you make it on a Friday and then put the dough in the fridge until Sunday. Now, good luck putting it in the fridge till Sunday. But their taste testers said they could note, and this has widely been talked about, and they actually did a test and said the dough was actually better. Now, a lot of foods act that way anyway. Like I made this gingerbread cake, and I guarantee you the gingerbread cake is going to be better today or tomorrow than it would have been yesterday when I made it. Because any kind of a spice bread like that, I find it's not as good the first day. Like pumpkin bread. I make it, it's eh. The next day it tastes great, but the day I make it, I'm like eh. So not to get it, we're getting into food again. You can tell I'm hungry. A little hungry. I'm not giving a UN story. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. Well, that's the question. I mean, Alexa, how many countries ban felons from visiting?
Sorry, I don't know that.
She can't do. Oh, is it your birthday today, Blue Ariel? Or no? Is it? Really? I don't make gingerbread much, so I'm hoping this cake is good. As I said, I made I'm not doing a UN story. I made a cream cheese frosting that is good, but I have no idea how the cake is going to be because it even collapsed a little in the middle. I was like, "Are you crazy? Are you kidding me?" I've never had a cake collapse on me, so I've got to cut it and test it. But I'm going to make a chocolate ganache on top, and between the chocolate ganache and the cream cheese filling, I figure it's going to be pretty good. Even if the cake is so-so, the cream cheese and the chocolate are going to cover it up. Yeah, a UN gingerbread recipe? No, definitely don't have that. No recipes from the UN. 38 countries ban felons. That's interesting. That's interesting. Interesting. All right. Oh, why don't I buy TikTok? I know. I should use my gift revenues to buy TikTok. I had heard about Canada. Like supposedly Canada, you can't. Oh, I did not take a picture of the recipe from the White House ornament. No, now that one, somebody already won the gingerbread ornament. I actually had other ornaments, but I'm thinking of saving them till next year because I didn't auction them off yet because it was so late before Christmas. But I'm going to save them because I figure right now Christmas ornaments are a bit late. But I did not take but I'm sure the recipe must be online. I don't remember who won the Christmas ornament, the gingerbread one from the White House. I could look. But yeah, I like gingerbread. I don't usually make it, but I do like it. You buy them all year round. I would too, to be honest, because I'm like, why not? Look at me. I still got my tree up. So, you're speaking to the choir here, right? But what did I just put up actually? There was I forgot what it was. Oh, I don't know what it was. I don't remember. Oh, maybe I put some more lights on my tree. That's what it was. Parker, I've got to write Parker and ask him to come on again. I mean, we said yes. Thank you, Blue. Thank you, Real. But I've got to actually schedule it with him. So hopefully, I'm sure he will. But I'm also trying to think of like what to talk about with Parker when he comes on, because I want it to be interesting for you guys. Thank you, Real Life. Thank you, Blue. You're from the South and Christmas stays up all year. I'm telling you, I wish I had an extra room. I told you guys once, I went to a party at someone's house and it was a house that had many bedrooms. And I walked by one of the rooms and it was all Christmas decorations and Christmas lights. And they said, we keep a Christmas room all year round. And I said, oh my God, I love that. Like, I love that idea. I just think it would be weird to keep the tree up, but I would love it. Parker's on now. I thought I did see him right before I started the show. Well, that's what people were saying yesterday, Autumn, is that people will keep the tree up and decorate it differently for each holiday. So like for Halloween, which actually is kind of fun, like for Halloween, Easter, actually that's true. You'd have Halloween, Easter, 4th of July for starters. Valentine's you could do. Beyond that, I'd have to think what other Thanksgiving, certainly, potentially, although that gets you close to Christmas. St. Patty's Day, I guess you could. I'm not Irish, but why not? Green. No, you could have a lot of fun. 4th of July is an obvious one. Halloween. Oh God, that's right. Of course. Halloween, of course. Halloween would be my favorite, I think. Mardi Gras. Your tree's been up since 2020. Where do you keep it, Lisa? Do you keep it in a separate bedroom or something? Or is it just out in the living room and people think you're like crazy? They're like, she's the cat lady. She has her tree up still from 2020. The living room. Oh, you're kidding. Oh, that's so funny. Do people think it's funny or weird? Or do people kind of go, that's so weird, but then they go, I really like it. It's embalmed. Exactly. Well, I have a fake tree. So now that's true. They would get dusty. That is true. Maybe you just it gets dusty and it gets dusty. What do you do? Cats. I know I've seen the videos of the cats climbing Christmas trees. That always makes me laugh. Very funny. If you're a cat lady, trees are out of the window. What does that mean, Paula? You did leave one up for a year and it got dusty. That would be my concern. I mean, and this town, especially Washington, is so dusty. So dusty. I mean, oh, that's what you worked in an ER? We left the tree up and changed the decorations for holidays all year. See, I think that would be nice, especially for an ER. That's a great, that's great. When you undo the ornaments, put it in the shower. I'd be afraid it would get rusty or something. Oh, correct. Yeah. Cats climb trees. Yeah, that I know. That I've seen videos of those. Yeah. But by the way, why, and this strikes me as very strange. Why are the emergency rooms all changing their names from ER to ED, like emergency department? ED is erectile dysfunction. Is that not like the stupidest name for the emergency room? I mean, nobody thought ED like already had another meaning that was kind of funny. I just find it very strange. But I'm quite serious. I think it's stupid. Also, it's you know what bothers me? I think there is absolutely, you are justified in calling for changes of a name that is sort of incorrect, or like, for example, trying to get away from colonial names, like, Peking becoming Beijing, or Bombay. Actually, Bombay still exists. Does Bombay still exist? No, Bombay became Mumbai, right? So like changing it because of colonial reasons or whatever, fair enough. Or changing the names of people, like African Americans wanting to be called African Americans, right? And again, TikTok, because TikTok has very poor moderation policies, I can't tell you the words we used to use in America for African Americans or Black people. Even though some of the words at the time were adopted by Black people, I can't tell you because TikTok moderates very poorly. But I could see Black people saying, today, we don't want to be called that because it's kind of an archaic word. Frankly, gay people, the word homosexual, it's kind of a pejorative word, saying homosexuals. It is. It just is. There's a pejorative sense, even if it's not intentional. There's a negative connotation when you say he's a homosexual. Even when I say it, I'm kind of like, ugh. I'm gay, by the way. He's gay sounds much better than he's a homosexual. It just to me sounds, as a gay person, it just sounds creepy. So there are legitimate reasons why sometimes you want to change what you're called, but sometimes I find things like, frankly, like I've said, illegal aliens becoming undocumented immigrants, I just find ridiculous, because to me, that's just politics. And it's frankly incorrect. I get why the immigration people want to change the name, because it sounds a lot better. It's also an incorrect name. They're not undocumented. They're not immigrants at all, first of all, and they're not undocumented. But so that annoys me. But the UFO thing annoys me too. Like, now they're calling UFOs. Help me again. Since you brought it up, Bill, what are they calling UFOs now? What are they calling them? Because they're saying they're UAPs. Yeah. Which is what, unidentified air phenomenon, maybe, or something like that. And because the idea is they may not be objects, they may be phenomena that you're noticing. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. But aerial, okay, fair enough. But so sometimes, like the ERED thing strikes me that way. Somebody said, no, if we change it from the emergency room to the emergency department, it makes it sound like we're bigger. And we do more things than we're not just one room. I also think of the person who explained, we're not one room, we're many rooms. And you're like, oh, that's very Zen of you. You're many rooms, because nobody knew you were many rooms in the ER. I find it a stupid name, ED, just a stupid name. But whatever. But ED, erectile dysfunction, is my favorite. But I'm always going to call it the ER, of course. What else? Urgent care? Yeah, urgent care is something different. Exactly. Well, that's true too. All the words people use on TikTok to get around the bans. Exactly. But ED. I literally can't say it without thinking Viagra. It's just like ED. It's so weird. Well, oncology department, really, because oncology department makes sense to me. Cancer department sounds a little weird to me. Only, you know what it is? Cancer department almost sounds a little negative because of the word cancer. The cancer department, I guess, but also the word oncology is not a strange word to me. So that's why, to me, oncology makes sense, because I guess the word, I don't know. That one doesn't bother me as much. That one doesn't bother me. OD referring to pickups? What is that? I don't even know what that means, Kevin. OD and pickups. What do you mean? What is OD and what are pickups? Where? Yeah, Twitter and X. That's a good point. I still call it Twitter. That's a very good point. People calling it X. Like X, please. Oncology department for ambulance. Oh, in dispatch, you say OD. Oh, that's funny. OD. That is very funny. That is very funny. Yeah, that's funny. Cancer center, but you do have cancer centers. What's his face? What's the female name cancer center? Famous, right? It's a woman's name, I think. Cancer center, right? So that term does exist in the U.S. Farber, Dana Farber, maybe cancer center. Is that what it's called? Right. So the word exists. Cancer center versus oncology. No, it's Dana Farber, I believe. Oh, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. Flying Medic says, in the medical field, it's always been officially the emergency department, but the general public has known it as the ER. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, Dana Farber. Yeah, Gilda Radner. I love Gilda Radner. Poor Gilda. Saw the word oncology and came out with, the study of pigs. Oh, oinkology. Oh, that's funny. Oinkology. That's funny. Well, I guess, part of the problem with the word oncology is it's a $5 word or something, right? So, I'm more educated or whatever. So like the word oncology is more normal to me, I guess, right? But I could see how somebody that isn't as much of a wordsmith might not know the word oncology. Sure. Oinkology. That is pretty funny though. I like that. Pro-Pally? What does that mean? This is Palestinian. Very funny. Yes. This is not a Palestinian mug. It's just one of mom's cups that I loved and took one of them. That's funny. Palestinian. I didn't even think of that. True. A Palestinian symbol's the watermelon. I made a cake already. It collapsed a little. I was not happy, but I'm going to cut it in thirds and see what it looks like inside. And then if everything's happy, I made some cream cheese frosting that's going to layer, and then chocolate ganache that'll go on top. I'm worrying that the recipe doesn't look like a ton of chocolate, but let's see for the chocolate ganache. So we will see. I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm almost tempted to try the cake somehow before, because I'm a little nervous as to how it's going to be, but we'll see. I know it's a regular cake, but it collapsed a little bit in the middle. And again, long story. I did not overbeat it. I didn't open the oven. I have no idea. But the cream cheese frosting is good. It is good. And I sort of discovered later, once I made it, that a lot of the cream cheese frosting recipes are kind of like a buttercream. And I was like, ew, I did not want to I don't like buttercreams. It's like half butter. I was like, ugh. So this was a recipe that was just basically sugar and an egg yolk, which worried me about its holding up once it's been sitting out for a while. So I Googled and saw you can add some milk powder, which I have, instant milk powder. And you can also add a little bit of cornstarch to try to help support the cream cheese. So I didn't add too much, but I added just enough to hopefully hold it up. No, my problem with the buttercream stuff, my problem is I've just had too many cakes where it's like eating butter. And I just don't want to eat butter. I want to eat cake frosting. You know what I mean? So 24 degrees. Where is that? Although we're almost there. We're 30 here, I guess. That's right. You're in the UK, right? We're 30 degrees here, which is not great. The cake, there's nothing to really show with the cake yet because I've got it wrapped up. I made it and it's still wrapped up in plastic because it's cold enough now, but I had to get it nice and cold so I can slice it in 3 and then do the frost, and the frosting had to be cold. So it's once the show is over, the frosting should be cold enough. We're going to find out. Thank you, Christina. I mean, butter makes it hold up better, but you know, I'm hoping. I never knew about. Oh well, that's true. I didn't even think of that, Carol. You're right. Cornstarch and milk powder. Well, milk powder because I've used it for bread. Cornstarch, I just feel like any baker should have cornstarch on hand. How do you not have cornstarch, right? But that's me. I'm like, cornstarch. You have to have cornstarch. But those two are supposed to stabilize frostings. So at least in principle, I'm hoping that's enough to stabilize it without it. Because the butter, literally, it was like an 8-ounce package of cream cheese and 1 stick of butter. And I was like, ew, that's like half butter. I did not want to do that. A Cooking with John show, I know. So we'll see. Anyway, we're going to find out tonight. Because also, I mean, everything can go wrong here. The cake might not be cooked where it collapsed. We're going to find out. If it is, then I'm literally going to cut out that portion. I might even cut out the middle and push the cake together, to be honest. That's the first risk. The second risk is putting the cream cheese filling. Will it support itself or will it kind of start to dissolve into the cake and go crazy? Third, when I do the chocolate ganache on top, will it go on nicely or will it start to crumb up and everything else? Thank you, Camacho. I'm guessing I've got to double check with ganache. Actually, somebody tell me if you're a baker. If you're doing like a chocolate ganache on top of the cake, do you pretty much just pour it on and let it do its thing? You can't really spread it, can you? Or don't you risk getting crumbs or getting lines or something if you spread it? Or can you spread it? Because it said to let it cool a little bit. But I wasn't sure whether you can spread or whether you just pour. That's what I thought, Carol. Pour and Dawn. Okay, that's what I thought. Pour only. Okay. So they said let it thicken a little, I guess, so it doesn't just fall everywhere. Okay. Nick, you're a baker? Okay. I've just never done a ganache before, so I'm kind of, not never, but, you know, sort of a frosting that's loose and then becomes thicker. This frosting is literally chocolate and cream, which I think is a ganache, right? So I'm a little nervous about this too. Like I said, many things can go wrong with this cake, but the big thing is just making sure it's not raw, where it literally got an indentation in the middle. And I was like, what are you doing? The temperature was okay. I did not over whip it because I know I'm not stupid. You're late, Ducky. I didn't over whip it because I know too much air can make things rise and then collapse. Was the cake expensive? I mean, not. I made it from scratch. The most expensive part is the chocolate and the cream cheese. So in a way, you know, the cream cheese was probably $9 worth of cream cheese. The chocolate's another $3 worth of chocolate. That's $12 right there. And then add in the other stuff, maybe get you $13, $14. Is that expensive? Maybe. I mean, bringing it to someone's house for a dinner. So, you know. We shall see. Like I said, I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to get to that right when we're done. And hopefully, I'm also not expert at slicing cakes in half to frost them, but you know, I have to. So a little nervous about that too. I know it may be a volcano cake, to be honest. That's what some of the stuff I was reading online said. Well, for example, you know, if you had to cut out the middle part and put candy in there. And I was like, ooh, that's a funny idea. I kind of like that. Need a good sharp knife. Well, am I correct that in cutting the cake, I should be using a bread knife, like a corrugated knife, not my Japanese single knife, right? Am I right? Japanese fluffy cheesecake? I don't know that. Use a bread knife. That's what I thought. Yep. Do we know when the Supreme Court makes a decision? We do not. The Supreme Court could very well make a decision in the next couple days. They could make a decision in 2 months. Thank you, KT. Typically, if they were going to make the decision not for a while, they would issue a rule that says pending our decision, we are going to put a stay on the legislation so that the ban does not go into effect until our decision comes out. So that's what we're going to wait to see. Thank you, Carol and KT. Well, the string to cut it is an interesting idea. Cheesecake. I finally followed the advice I found somewhere once about using dental floss to cut cheesecake, and it worked very well. Now I see Heidi saying dental floss. My only concern is that actually, I mean, can you really, is that a better way of doing it with the dental floss for cutting the layers than using the knife? Why, with the knife, is there too much of a chance of going like down and up or something? With the dental floss, yours more. Well, it's not a flaky cake though. It's a gingerbread cake. So I don't know what to, it's almost, to me, it looks a little spongy. It looks a little spongy. Yeah, no, it's not mint. No, I don't use mint. It's not spongy though. So I'm tempted to, I just don't want to screw it up. Bread, and then bread knife, I guess you just go very carefully because I'm a little afraid of kind of cutting too high or too low or whatever. You know what I mean? But for cheesecake, I was shocked. The dental floss worked so well for cheesecake. I mean, ridiculously well. Wrap it around the cake and pull tight. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. Because if you wrap the floss around, then you know exactly where it is, so you're getting an even layer. That's an interesting idea, though. I do worry about. I may try the knife. We're gonna see. A cheesecake cutter. Oh, that's funny. Well, we'll see. Honestly, I got this close to making a trifle, except my mom had wonderful trifle dishes that we haven't used in 30 or 40 years. And I didn't take one because I was like, what am I going to do with a trifle dish? Literally, this was a month ago. And I sat there this week and I was like, what am I going to do with this cake if it didn't cook in the middle? And everything I read online said, oh, turn it into a trifle. It's like, well, no trifle dish. So that's that. We're not doing that. So, but, you know, what do you do? Truffle? Nope. You're joined. Yes, you've joined us on cake and trifle. What do you do? Because right, you could easily just. I could have done layers with the cake, the cream cheese, and the chocolate. Probably would have been pretty good. I know cake pops. I did see that about cake pops too. But cake pops require rolling in chocolate. I was like, no. I'm gonna look. My biggest concern is whether the cake cooked in the middle. If it didn't cook in the middle, then I've got to figure out what I'm doing about that. Do I think TikTok is a national security threat? Would you like to see me banned on TikTok? I couldn't answer that question anyway. I mean, I'm on TikTok. I can't answer that question. I don't trust answering that question on TikTok. Hey, Doyle. So yeah. No, I've got to decide. Like I said, if it's uncooked in the middle, I've got to decide what I do with the middle. When putting this cake all together, I should put Picard on. That's true. I know. Hey, Oscar. Yeah, no, we'll see. Like I said, I'm debating what to do. Actually, you know what I might do? If it's a square cake, if the middle is uncooked, I'm going to cut it out. I'm then going to take the side portions that are there, cut them in half, and fill out the layer and push the halves together, and then frost it if I can, and see if that works. We'll see. I will make this work if it kills me. So it just better taste good. Cream cheese in a small container of marshmallow cream blend. Oh, that does sound good. Oh, that's a fruit dip. How interesting. Yeah, this is just a nice cream cheese. Like I said, cream cheese, sugar, an egg yolk, vanilla, and that's it. I would have put lemon, but I wasn't convinced of lemon with gingerbread. I've gotten lately I've gotten really good at pairing flavors in my mind. It's weird. I never had that skill to this degree. And in my mind, I went cheesecake with gingerbread, good. Cheesecake that's a little lemony with gingerbread, no. So because normally with my cheesecakes, I'll put a little bit of lemon in. But I wouldn't do that with gingerbread. That struck me as wrong. So we're not doing that. The marshmallow cream with gingerbread, that's intriguing. That sounds good actually. That would have made a nice frosting actually, I would say. Fill the hole with berries. Oh, that's an interesting idea. That's an interesting idea. I could do that actually, if I have to. You're right. If I have to, I could. Yeah. Just get basically any kind of a dark colored berry, right? Like actually cherry would be good too, but a raspberry, blueberries. I don't see blueberries. I see more of a fruity, like a raspberry or something with gingerbread. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what flavor I could hide in there. I'll take a picture of the final cake for you. Don't worry. Let's see what happens. I'm still nervous about that center part being uncooked. Yeah, but if it's undercooked, people don't like blackberries. Maybe. Yeah. That's a good idea, though. I could see doing that. I could, if I have to, I could fill the center with berries, and then it just looks like a pretty little berry thing in the middle. And I don't have to tell people it was undercooked. Then it looks even fancier, like, oh my God, and it's got berries in the middle. Strawberries with gingerbread? Maybe. I'm not convinced. I almost feel like gingerbread has to be, like I said, like a raspberry, not a blueberry. Strawberry? I don't know. Orange with gingerbread? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. You say yes to which one, Danny? Raspberries does kind of, now cherry would be great. Cherry would be great. But I mean, what do you mean? Just buy like sweet cherries? Because they only sell sweet ones across the street at the grocery store. The gingerbread is, of course, it's spiced with ginger. What do you mean? Is it spiced? I'm not sure what you mean, Ginger. Your name is Ginger. I mean, it's full of a lot of gingerbread spice. Actually, and Gunther will appreciate this, and the rest of you. I actually have pain d'épices that I bought in Paris years ago. That's a gingerbread spice. It's a French gingerbread spice, basically. So I used my pain d'épices and the recipe uses a little extra cinnamon. So I did that. Thank you, Ron. Yes. So it's actually, it's ginger, but it's ginger. I was going ginger, ginger spices. Yep. Oh, Ronnie. I saw Ronnie. Oh, I guess Ronnie works too. Let's see. I love ginger, really? Or gingerbread, I love. Let's see, guys. I'm going to see what I do here. I'm going to go because we're at an hour and a half. I've got to go make my cake. But let me see if it hopefully, well, the problem is it's sunk in a little anyway, but I figure I'm just going to turn the cake upside down. So, it's a spice. It's not going to go bad. They're spices. Actually, and it smelled good. They wouldn't go bad. Spices might lose their flavor. They might pick up other flavors, but it's been sealed this whole time. So it's a good question, but I'm pretty comfortable. It smelled very good, so I'm comfortable with it. But it wouldn't go bad. A spice wouldn't go bad per se, I would say. It's just you worry about it picking up a scent or just losing its flavor entirely. Sending me a recipe via email. Okay. All right, guys. I'm not going to do a summary now. Nah, it's already an hour and a half, guys. I would normally, Jacob, but it's been an hour and a half. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go. I've got a cake to finish making. I will do pictures of it. Remember tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time, TikTok, YouTube, all the paid monthly subscribers, anybody with SNN next to the name on TikTok, anybody whose name is green on YouTube, Discord subscribers, etc. Join me tomorrow morning. We'll be hanging out. I'll see if Lad's around. Like I said, he's been very busy lately, but we'll try. He did get back to me. At least he's okay. He's just very busy. So anyway. All right, guys, let's say goodnight, and then I'll talk to many of you tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday. Oh, and you didn't know, I've got this is funny. So final little thing. This is a sweater thing that I bought in Italy probably 25 years ago. I'm going to guess maybe 30. It's Benetton. Actually, not 30. I'd say 20 years ago I bought this. But it never fit because I gained weight. And finally, because I've lost weight, but I love it. I don't really wear it up. That's not really my thing. But I love this because it's kind of a nice little, see, we do fashion on this show too, because it's kind of a nice, just the way it drapes. I love this, but it's Italian. It is brand new because I've never worn it because it was too tight. I gained like 5 pounds and I could never wear it. So finally I was in my closet and I was like, I want some other clothes for my show and my videos that are nice. And I went, oh, I can wear my Italian my little Benetton thing. So yes. Anyway, very excited. So I had to share because I'm very excited. All right, guys, have a good night. All right. See you all tomorrow, or see many of you tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys. Later,